this evening. I feel like it's been a while since I saw you, but it was just last week. I've been rolling. So this is where we give you life tips, tools, and solutions to help make life better for you. We have a wonderful special guest with us on tonight. I'm going to bring her on a little bit later. Last week, I started a segment called What's Coach Karla Been Up To? As you all know, I've had a really busy schedule, going to movie premieres and acting classes and storytelling classes, and I mean, you know, what else? So wanted to keep you all abreast to what I've got going on. I wanted to give pause. First of all, I want to say thank you to the Hunley family as we spent time memorializing their daughter, their family member, Mandisa Lynn Hunley. Many of you may know that she passed away on not this past Thursday, but the Thursday before that. And the family went ahead and started memorial services immediately. And so many Jubilee singers, Fisk Jubilee singers, traveled from all over the country to be at that memorial as well as the funeral. The memorial was Friday at Fisk University, and Saturday was the funeral where Beth Moore was in attendance, as well as Mandisa's band leader, who was her band leader for 13 years, Mandisa's pastor, her dancers, people who were on American Idol with her. Now, my relationship with Mandisa, we were Fisk Jubilee singers together. When I was a junior, I think she was a sophomore, so I was an upperclassman and she was an underclassman. And what I know now is that, as her father shared at the funeral, that she had COVID not too long ago. She actually fell from her bed and wasn't able to get to her cell phone in order to call for help. And so we are in prayer for her family, for their strength, for a peace that surpasses all understanding. Now, you know, what I want to say is we may not understand things like that when they happen, but what I can say is that a lot of what I would call God things happened. While I was on that trip, one of the things that happened was I had a chance to take the Von Lane luxury coach all the way to Nashville from Memphis. It's a really nice ride if any of you are having car trouble or you just want to take that relaxing ride instead of driving. It's called Von Lane, and it's $130 one way, so it's like $260 round trip, which if you have to rent a car, you know that's going to be about the same price. But anyway, there's an attendant that waits on you when you're on the Von Lane. They serve a meal and snacks. I mean, they almost bust me open on the way to Nashville. Just really, really nice. And even, I have to throw this in there because I always talk to my therapy clients about using essential oils and lavender, and after your meal, they give you a heated towel that's infused with lavender. That was a really nice experience. But getting back to the God things, before I loaded the bus, as we were waiting, there was a couple right next to me who was from Ireland, and of course, they had just visited Graceland. And I was just standing outside practicing because Dr. Sharnae White, who was also very close friends with Mandisa, and as well as a Fisk Jubilee singer with myself and Mandisa. She had sent us a couple of songs for us to go over, so I was going over those right outside of the bus, not being loud or anything. And the man from Ireland, I saw him walk around the front of the bus and walk back around. I didn't know what he was doing, but what he said is that he thought there was music coming from the radio on the bus, but it was me. I said, oh, okay then. That sounds pretty good. So no, that made me feel good, and I needed that. I really wasn't. It's not a happy occasion when you first find out about a friend passing away unexpectedly, when they haven't been sick that you know of. And so I really was not just practicing, but soothing myself as well. And so, but with that, I was able to talk to them about the history of the Fish Jubilee Singers, and talk to them about Mandisa. And ironically, they brought up Whitney Houston, which was Mandisa's favorite artist, as everybody knows. And so it was just a really good conversation. And I know that I believe they mentioned praying for everyone. Now, one of the miraculous things that happened, or a God thing, is that, there have to be over like 500 former Fish Jubilee singers who came in under Dr. Paul T. Kwame, who was our director. And to know that with the quick notice, about 15 or 16 were able to show up, which is the number that we normally sing with, for Friday and Saturday. To me, those are miraculous things. Those are the people who were able to drop everything, take off work, get their family squared away at home, and come and run through some songs and bam, be able to sing them on the spot Friday night and Saturday morning. And it was wonderful to be standing amongst them and to know that it was 20 years ago when we sung those songs. And it was like we never ever left. So, I consider that to be a God thing as well. I mean, and we sung songs like Done Made My Vow, Our Father, if you are familiar with Negro spirituals. Now, just for a little bit of background, Fisk University was one of the first historically black colleges, and there were 9 singers who set out in 1866 to save the school, and they were newly freed slaves. They raised enough money to build Jubilee Hall, which still stands, and it is affectionately also called Frozen Music. But they raised over $150,000 back then. I would love to have $150,000 right now. So that was a lot of money. And they also sang for the Queen of England and really made Nashville Music City. So that's some of the history of the Fish Jubilee Singers, and just wanted to catch you all up with that as far as something that I've had going on. Also, ABC 24 interviewed me on Monday about Mandisa as well, and they also interviewed Dr. Charnay White. And so you can check out their website, ABC 24, if you would like to see that interview. So that's pretty much what I've had going on for the past week. Just kind of engrossed in that and healing. And so now we're going to take a break so that we can bring back our special guest. See you in a bit.
Can you actually imagine hosting your next event at the all-new SVP Banquet and Event Center? Yes, spacious, beautiful venue with plenty of parking, located in the heart of East Memphis. Let us host your next intimate birthday gathering, family repast, bachelorette party, wedding and reception, baby shower, corporate meeting, social club event. Call us today. Don't wait. 901-244-6874. The all-new SVP Banquet and Event Center. Tune in to Talking Law with Attorney Daryl O'Neill. I'm the special guest host, Attorney Jerome Payne. Live TV talk on your digital device, on Roku, Fire TV, and Apple TV. Download the SVP TV app right now. Check us out every Tuesday on Comcast Cable, Channel 17, 8:30 p.m. And we are live every Friday on Facebook Live, 6 o'clock in the evening. You've got a question? Our attorneys have the answer. So let's talk law with Attorney Daryl O'Neill on the SVP TV network.
You're talking about a good time shield. We all know. Come on now.
Set Center Stage Gospel Music live from Memphis, Tennessee, featuring gospel artists from around the world. Toe tapping, hand clapping, down home gospel music. Watch on Roku, Fire TV, Apple TV, and your local Comcast. Download the SVP TV app now on your smart television and mobile device. Center Stage Gospel season premieres Sunday, 8 p.m. Central.
Hey folks, it's Issa Haddad here. I got some good news and a special invitation for you to come see me here at Sunrise Collierville. Come on down, check out my inventory with new, pre-owned, and certified vehicles to choose from. I can get you finance when no one else can. Come on by, bring your family. I treat you like family. Come see me, Issa, here at the #1 dealership in the Mid-South, 4605 Houston Levy Road, Sunrise, Collierville. Come on down, check out my inventory with hundreds of vehicles to choose from, pre-owned, new, and certified.
Good news from Sunrise Chevrolet. Get in your new vehicle today. Come on in, ask for Issa. Bankrupt, slow pay, bad credit, it's okay. Let Issa put you in your brand new truck or car today when you shop at Sunrise Chevrolet, Collierville.
And don't forget, ask for me, Issa.
Good evening. Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining Couch Convo with Coach Karla. As you can see, I have a very special guest with me on tonight. She is author and minister, Christy Haley. Welcome.
Hey, Karla, thank you for having me.
You're welcome. She lives in Lexington, Tennessee, and that's about 2 hours away, right?
It is.
Okay, all right. So she came all that way to be with us down here in Memphis, Tennessee. She is a proud seminary graduate with her bachelor's degree in biblical studies and pastoral leadership. She is newlywed to the love of her life, Devin. Christy is the visionary founder of Ain't God Good Ministry, dedicated to supporting the spiritual needs of individuals grappling with drug and alcohol challenges. She was in jail where she was facing up to 25 years in prison for drug trafficking and organized crime. After 23 years in that dark world, her life took a remarkable turn through the transformative power of God Himself when she died of an overdose right here in Memphis, Tennessee, and encountered the peace of Christ that the Bible speaks of. Today, Christy dons many hats, including author and small business owner, along with the blessing of full-time ministry, epitomizing God's unending love and faithfulness. Welcome again.
Oh, thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you. And I had to remind myself of how I met Christy. Can I call you Christy?
Absolutely.
Okay. How I met Christy, and it was through the Mid-South Christian Writers Conference. She reached out. I think that she saw us advertising the conference on social media and reached out, and we've been connected ever since. So I was really touched by your testimony. And as I mentioned before, well, I've been a therapist for 20 years, and I did do some work in prison. How did you become a part of a mob family? How does that happen?
Well, kind of like generational curses.
Okay.
We know about generational curses. I was born into this.
Okay.
My mother was a drug dealer, and where most people get up in the mornings and they may have a sweet little breakfast and go to school, I got up and rolled joints in the 6th grade to take to school to sell.
Yep.
And before I could even drive legally, I was trafficking across Tennessee and Mississippi.
Okay. And so when you say trafficking, marijuana?
Started out with marijuana, pounds across Tennessee and Mississippi, and eventually that led to heroin.
And when you were explaining being in the 6th grade, I was saying, because when I was in school, elementary school now, one of my friends had we don't say, I don't know what we're supposed to say, but had a joint in her purse, and I don't know if she had mama's purse or what, but she had it. And I think I don't know if we were in kindergarten or second grade, one of those. But I grew up in Fraser, and at that time that was Grandview Elementary. Now it's Grandview Middle. So a lot of times people don't think that kids have access to things like that, but they do. And so I just want to put that out there, because as a therapist and somebody who works in the community, sometimes I have to have those conversations with people about what kids have access to and have knowledge of.
It's real, and
Yeah.
it's sad, and it's even worse today.
It is worse today. Absolutely. And I think kids are even if they're not growing up in a drug family, they're seeing it on social media, and they're highly attracted to it as a way to make money. If their family is in poverty, or they don't even have to be in poverty now, because everything is so materialistic. Yeah.
It is. Oh gosh.
So because people don't know, what was that like to have a mom who was, into that lifestyle?
Well, for me, it was normal. It was what we did. We got up in the morning and smoked marijuana and went about our day. We sold it. Mm-hmm. I went with my mom on runs and to the drug houses, and
So your mom was okay with you smoking it as a kid?
she introduced me to marijuana at 13.
Wow.
Me and my friends to smoking it. But it was just normal. When I looked at other people's lives, they were the odd ones
They were
out.
the odd ones, yeah.
Yeah, I can remember one time, right before I came to know Jesus in 2012, I was sitting at a red light and looked at a family in the car beside of me, a man, a mom, a dad, and kids, while I was sitting there with a Black and Mild in one hand and a joint in the other, and probably a 40 between my legs. And I felt sorry for them.
Wow.
Because I thought they were missing out on
They
life.
were missing out, yeah. Yeah.
Well, comes to find out I was missing out. So
Yeah.
it was just normal to me.
Okay. Now, so I heard you talk about your mom. Was your father around?
So my dad was the president of a motorcycle club,
Yeah.
actually here in Memphis.
Okay.
And he stayed at his clubhouse all the time. I would just see him coming, going on his motorcycle, honestly.
Okay. So he didn't necessarily spend time with you?
No, he
Okay.
was outside of the home. When I did see him and my mom would be fighting, so we didn't really see him a lot.
Okay. All right. And then did you have siblings?
Yes, that we know of, there are 6. Now, my dad was quite the ladies' man, so there's probably children from one side of the United States to the other.
Okay.
So I have 2 sisters and a brother.
Yeah.
One sister is currently in prison for armed bank robbery in
Yeah.
Louisiana, and I got another brother who is watching in prison as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And how, if you don't mind talking about that, how long is his sentence?
Oh, God was with him. My brother is a habitual offender with meth and just practically everything. And he could have been facing life. And luckily, by the grace of God, he comes home in 6 years.
Okay. All right. And how is he spending his time in prison?
Well, he is a Christian now.
Okay.
He is forming a ministry, the same thing as me. He's
Yeah.
in there forming a ministry, leading guys to God, helping guys find who they are as a man in Christ. He's
Okay.
doing great things. He's been reunited with his family,
That's good.
and God is just moving in his life.
Okay, wonderful. Now, when you were talking about, the first thing that stood out to me when I was reading was the word drug mule. As a kid, did you experience feelings of guilt about that, or was there a certain time that started happening?
There was a time, but it wasn't as a child. That saying, the root of evil is money, money is the root.
Yeah.
That was it for me. When I started selling drugs, and in the 6th grade I was making more money than three teachers put together,
Yeah.
I got a love for money, and that's when I lost anything, any part of relationship I had with God.
Yeah.
When I took off down that alley, and it would be many years before I would feel guilty, and that was because God was working on me, and what I felt was conviction. And I'll always remember that moment as a beautiful moment in my life.
Okay.
A painful but beautiful moment.
Okay. What was going on at that time?
Well, so I was trafficking kilos of heroin from Chicago to Nashville. And
Okay.
at this point, I wasn't muling anymore. I was everybody has different things they say.
Yeah.
I was the main person. I was the one calling the shots and making the deals.
Yeah.
Destroying families, it was horrible. The reign of terror, and I didn't even realize, I thought I was doing a good thing, but I was killing people. One day, actually it was a few weeks after I saw the wife and the husband and the kids, I got in my car, and usually I turned on trap music. We'd get in the car and turn on the most gangster trap music you can think of, with a couple ounces of heroin, bagged down. I was going to go bust blocks around Nashville and just sell it all day.
Yeah.
Well, that morning, it was about this time of year actually, I did not turn the radio on, and I started down the road, still in my subdivision, and conviction hit me. I heard God speak to my soul that I was living wrong. That's really the feeling I felt. You're living wrong. So I turned in. We lived in a real nice neighborhood. I was making a lot of money, so we lived in a gated neighborhood. I parked in front of a pond, and I said, "Is that you, God? Is that you?" And I felt it deep.
Yeah.
And I just cried.
Yeah.
I turned around and went back home and said, okay, something's got to change. I'm raising kids in this. My kids were 14, 13, 12, and 11, and they knew I was a drug dealer, and what was happening was that generational curse
Right. Yeah.
was taking over my kids' life. So I felt the power of God within me, and that's better than anything you're ever going to feel.
It is. You're absolutely right.
There's no drug, there's no anything that will overpower the feeling of the Holy Spirit.
Right. Yeah.
So I went back home and I started praying, something's got to give, something's got to give, and that's when it all started.
Okay. That is a wonderful story. And I mean, I heard when you were saying God was speaking to you, I heard conviction, and then you were concerned about your kids.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So your kids, so God's voice and your kids made the difference.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. And the legacy that you wanted to leave for them.
Yes, I didn't want to leave my kids like my mom. I was thrown out with no skills, no anything, just I could sell drugs. I didn't want my kids to be that way. I wanted their lives to be different. I wanted them to be successful.
Yeah.
And just make something out of themselves in life.
Yeah. So you're living in a wonderful home in a gated community. You're making excellent money, but you hear God's voice, and now you know you've got to make a change. How did you go home, and what do? You go home and tell the kids? How do you do it?
Actually, and we haven't talked about this, you don't know this. I didn't have much of a Bible. I had one of those little Gideon Bibles that you can get. I don't even know how I got that. Someone probably felt sorry for me and gave it to me.
Yeah.
The kids got home. I had the little Bible sitting there. My son says, "Who died?" They think that somebody's died. Who died? Well, and I explained it to him. This is wrong. we're not going to sell drugs anymore.
Yeah.
We're going to end up moving. Everything's going to change. And one of my kids didn't want that. She
Yeah.
said, how are we going to survive? If you stop selling drugs, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
And they were all the kids were on board except for the one, but it was about a month later, and I was trying to figure out how am I going to get out of this, because I was in organized crime.
Yeah.
You don't just walk away from that.
Right.
I prayed.
Yeah.
And about a month later, God sent my answer in the form of the FBI.
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay. That's pretty deep.
It was deep.
Okay. Well, do you think you want to go ahead and tell us about that?
Oh, I'll tell you all about everything. This is my testimony.
Okay. All right.
Are we good on time?
Yeah.
Okay. So, get ready for this one.
I tell you what, let's go ahead and go to break, and then we'll get into that nitty gritty when
Okay.
we come back. We're gonna go to break, and we'll be right back.
For over 20 years, OPOX has been keeping the Mid-South
Warm in the winter and cool in the summer.
OPOX is family owned and operated, so our family will take care of yours every step of the way. And right now, you can double up and save. Buy a new AC unit and get 50% off a new furnace to match it. Count on OPOX for fast and professional heating and cooling services. Count on OPOX.
Ladies, do you feel feminine during your feminine flow? You know, your monthly cycle, your period? Are you still suffering in silence? The suffering is over. It's time to choose Rain. Rain is an all-natural, premium sanitary napkin with 8 layers of cotton, high-grade polymers, graphene to help cut bacteria by 99.9%. Ladies, let's protect the most precious jewel in the world, you.
Rain Premium Sanitary Napkins do not make any medically backed claims or personal recommendations of any kind. For more information, contact Marilyn McGee. Tune in to Talking Law with attorney Daryl O'Neill. I'm the special guest host, attorney Jerome Kay. Live TV talk on your digital device, on Roku, Fire TV, and Apple TV. Download the SVP TV app right now. Check us out every Tuesday on Comcast Cable, Channel 17, 8:30 p.m. And we are live every Friday on Facebook Live, 6 o'clock in the evening. You've got a question? Our attorneys have the answer. So let's talk law with attorney Daryl O'Neill on the SVP TV network. Can you actually imagine hosting your next event at the all-new SVP Banquet and Event Center? Yes, spacious, beautiful venue with plenty of parking, located in the heart of East Memphis. Let us host your next intimate birthday gathering, family repast, bachelorette party, wedding and reception, baby shower, corporate meeting, social club event. Call us today. Don't wait. 901-244-6874. The all-new SVP Banquet and Event Center.
Welcome back to Couch Convo with Coach Karla. I'm here with my special guest, author and minister, Christy Haley. And before we went to break, we were talking about the FBI coming. So what was that like?
We were. So at this point, I'd prayed that prayer. God, I need some help. You're the only one that can help me out of this. It's either you or death. What do I do, Lord? I had not officially just gave my life over to God, but I began praying.
Yeah.
And I was open to the answers that I was going to receive. Someone had told me at an AA meeting, you might get an answer and it might not be the answer you want. So I remembered that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So on the day before, I had fronted $40,000 worth of heroin to a family member that I trusted, who was part of my convoy, we called it. So we would take 3 cars deep to Chicago.
Yeah.
One person would be a spotter, the first person. Then the middle person would have the drugs in the car. And I had a car that had hidden compartments. So if we got pulled over, they would literally have to tear the car apart. And then the third person, this is so dangerous, and I still can't believe I did this. The third person was instructed that if the middle car got pulled over, they are to do something reckless to get the cops away from the middle person.
Okay.
So this family member was one of my drivers. She told me that she knew somebody that needed $40,000 worth of heroin. So I said, okay, here it is. You can pay me tomorrow. I know you don't have that. Pay me tomorrow. So I go to the designated meeting spot in public. Driving a brand new car I'd just paid cash for, had like 7 miles on it. I had all that money and I had to spend it. You can't just keep money. I pulled up to the spot. This family member, well, I'll just say it was my sister.
Yeah.
My sister, my baby sister, who we love one another and are good.
Yeah.
She gets in the car, gives me the $40,000. And as soon as she puts it on my lap and I open the bag and I'm looking in, my car door opens and I get jerked out. At first I thought I was getting robbed.
Yeah.
You know, you get pulled out of the car, but then I started looking around and it was FBI agents. I saw their lanyards, the guns.
Yeah.
I was laying with my feet on the concrete. It was hot, it was summer. And I watched my sister's feet walk away by herself. So I knew it was a setup. I had been set up.
Yeah.
And it hadn't hit me yet that this was a God thing. So a few minutes later, I'm sitting in the front seat of one of the FBI trucks.
Yeah.
And this FBI agent, first he says, "Do I look familiar to you?" And I thought, well, I told him, no, I don't know you.
Yeah.
At that time, I was a different woman. And I probably said something like, "You're the 12, or you're the popos." I don't, you know.
Okay.
He said, "You've been going to my church first." So I had started going to church after that moment. Nashville has hundreds of churches.
Right, yeah.
I picked one church, and it just so happened to be the church that the FBI agent that was investigating me went to. Wow. Then I had my hands cuffed like this. He put his hand over my cuffed hands.
Yeah.
And he prayed with me.
Okay.
He said, I'll never forget his words. He said, "I pray that by the time you get out of prison, you're gonna know the Lord."
All right now. Now, y'all, as she's talking, I feel it in my belly. Don't play no games. Okay, I'm listening.
So that moment, I remember looking at my hand. My nails were perfect. I had diamonds, diamond, just
Yeah.
money.
Yeah.
Nothing. I remember looking at it and thinking, yeah, this is it. This is my answer. This is the answer God sent me.
Okay.
And I was married at that point to my second husband. And I remember looking at him and thinking, that is not who I'm supposed to be married to. This is not where I'm supposed to be sitting. God has a plan for me, and this is not it. So I'm going to roll with it. Hopefully I'm not going to go to prison forever. If God does give me another chance, I'm going to make the most out of it.
Okay.
And that was the beginning of a long road.
So now, first of all, again, a miraculous God thing for you to go to church where the FBI agent who was investigating you, like out of all of the churches you could have gone to, did you feel led? How did you pick that church?
Oh, well, let me tell you. So we took a little basket that I had on my kitchen table that usually had fruit in it.
Oh, okay.
And I told my kids, y'all pick some churches, Google it. So they all picked churches and they put it on a piece of paper. And they put it in that basket. And I don't remember who drew the name out, but one of us drew
that church.
Joy Church International in Mount Juliet, Tennessee.
Wow. And that's what the church, and that was the church.
That's where the federal agent was at.
Well, that's another God thing.
It was.
Because it sounds like it ended up being a blessing for you. And maybe even just the prayer he prayed. I don't know, what else he did, but the prayer he prayed was important.
Very. It led me on a path. At that point I had two ways I could have gone. It's kind of like when when you hear them talking about jail. Jail is going to make you or it's going to break you. And that was my crossing point. That was my moment of either I'm going to fight this and I'm going to go in and click up with some other gang members of who I was associated with, or I'm fixing to fly the coop. I'm fixing to get out of here. This is my way out.
Okay. All right. Now, how much time? Okay, so first of all, I've never been an inmate. However, I did observe what life was like for inmates by me being a counselor in that environment. And as far as I'm concerned, it's tough. How long did you have to be in there, and how did you survive that?
So I started going to jail at the age of 18. In and out of jail, in and out, little petty stuff all over the state of Tennessee. I'd never actually been to prison. And the way that this worked out, God had a plan. And this is in my book. I don't mind to say it here on TV. I worked for the FBI as an undercover informant. And I was looking at life, you know. They knocked that down, but this is where God came in. They let me go. They let me work for them. I did some undercover stings, and they let me stay out until my hearing. And I ran for God. Oh, I ran after him as fast as I could. I was like holding on to his cloak. You know, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going with you, Lord. I started seeking God, and it took a while. Now it took a while. Even when I was still working undercover, I was still on heroin. I was intravenously using 3 grams a day, which is a lot. It is a lot. And I just started seeking God and asking him to transform me. Change my life. And it's like the Holy Spirit, God, the Trinity, you have to feed that within you or it will die. That is a living thing inside of you that has to be fed in order to stay alive and to get stronger. Well, I got a little bit of God, I got a little taste of it. And once I got that taste, I wanted more and more and more. And I just asked God, okay, I'm going to prison. Use me in this prison time. Use me in that prison. If you want me to stay in prison 25 years, God, and these are things I actually prayed. Use me. Don't let my time be in vain. Make the most out of those 25 years. Use me to be a light in that prison. And that's how I got through. I prayed with people. I prayed for people. I prayed over our pod while people slept. I prayed in the shower. It was evil. It was very evil. And the only way I could survive that as a Christian woman in such an evil place is to have the power of God on me and around me at all times.
And and as she was talking about that, I want to be clear. I worked in a prison setting with male inmates. And what I want to say about that is I would not have done that unless God asked me to do it. I was divinely protected. The guys that I was working with didn't play about Miss Karla, you know. And I prayed for them. And it was a unique time in my life. And then I'm going to say this right here too. When it was time for me to go, it was time for me to go. Because there was a different population of men that were coming in. They were more physically dangerous, you know.
Boy.
So, and I knew God had said, okay, it's time to go. And then like within the next 1 to 2 weeks, it was a total, I was like, oh my God, okay, all right, I got it. Let's go. But I did what God asked me to do. Like my parents were freaking out, you know. But I mean, I didn't feel unsafe, and I wasn't supposed to because God was with me.
That's right.
I mean, but now I can stand pretty good flat foot. You can't walk in prison and look like all dainty, and you can't do that. You got to have a certain persona about yourself.
You do. And the day that I found that I was going to prison, I had been in the county jail. I didn't want to go to prison. I cried.
Yeah.
When they came back and said, pack up, I said, where am I going? I was just fine in the county jail. I'm fine here to do my time. And they said, no, you're going to the big house. I cried all the way to the prison, in the prison van, cried all the way. My friend said, no, it's time to put your big girl panties on. We're going to prison. Yeah. Stop crying. We don't cry in prison.
And this was okay. Now, this was somebody who was going as well.
A friend of mine. We had done our time together in a couple of jails, and thankfully we ended up being.
Oh yeah.
We ended up being roommates because she was pretty big, and
that.
our kids were friends. So I was sticking right with her through prison.
And I ain't trying to be funny, but that's a God thing too, because that was protection.
It was, because I wasn't going to go in and gang up with anybody or link up with who I had come with from the streets. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to do something different. And there's not a whole lot of godly women in prison.
Now, this is just me. I want to know, was there a counselor in prison that made a difference for you?
There was. God put several people in my life during my time. There were bad people that worked there, but there were good people too. And Chaplain Ronnie Osborne was one of them.
Yeah.
Do you know Chaplain Osborne from West Tennessee? Oh, Henning. He's still there. He's retired 3 times. He's in his 70s. He's retired 3 times and keeps coming back. He says he can't get away. And yes, there were a few people that have classes that are teaching you how to be a better person.
Right.
Miss Carol Turner, Jennifer Butler. I had quite a few people put in my life that fed me. And therapy-wise, I was able to get with, thank God, I got paired with somebody who had a master's degree and was new to EMDR therapy.
Oh, okay.
I had a lot of PTSD, past traumas. I was molested as a child. And just all the things I had drugged myself through in life, I needed therapy for that. So I took the EMDR therapy, and it changed who I was. It made me a better person.
So it's okay for us to have a relationship with Jesus and go to therapy too?
100%.
Thank you.
100%. We need that.
Because, and this is it stings. And I wish that it would change, but a lot of times people don't come to therapy because they go to church where somebody tells them Jesus is gonna fix it. And it's the thing is, okay, how is he going to fix it? And we don't do that with anything else, right? We know we gotta eat in order to live and have protein and sustenance in our body. We know we gotta put gas in our car. Well, what about our mind and our heart, And yeah, I know God does things at church, and he moves and he changes people, but he also uses therapy, and the Bible talks about using wise counsel, and the good counsel of men. It's all throughout there, so.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that is something that people, and I struggled with that myself. Should I go to therapy? I've got Jesus. Well, Jesus and God, they gave us therapists, and these therapists, they go to school and spend all this money to learn how to help us.
Right.
And yes.
Yeah. And for the most part, therapists are people whose heart is in the right place, because we don't make no whole lot of money, child.
I know. I just dropped out. I just dropped out of school to be a therapist. Woo! I did. I couldn't handle it. That takes a certain kind of person.
It does. It does. So you've got a book that you're working on, Building Bridges with Jesus. Tell us about that.
Oh, Building Bridges with Jesus talks about all the things God has put before me to help people, using me to bridge the gap. There's been times I've stood in the gap in prayer to make that bridge with Jesus.
Yeah.
There was one time, and this is actually where the name of my ministry came from. This was the first bridge God used me to build. So
Okay.
when I first got locked up, before, well, actually I had just worked for the FBI doing the controlled buys. So I got put into segregation when they locked me back up to protect me
Right.
from. There were 38 people indicted with me.
Whoa.
I was considered the ringleader, so they put me in the hole. I stayed 9 months in the hole. 9 months, I lived 9 months in the hole. And that's where the good stuff happened with the Lord.
Are you serious?
So this is where it's going to get good. When I first got put there, I didn't know the Lord. I was a very foul person, very foul human being, and the lieutenant there, her name is Lieutenant Bean. I just hope she sees this. She made a difference in my life. I wanted a book. What is the first thing an inmate wants? Can it give me a book? She said, I got a book for you, all right, ma'am. And she went and got this thick, free on the inside Bible. And she opened the door. I was like, I don't want that. And she threw it at me. She said, you're taking this Bible. So I held the Bible. I said, God, if this is what you want me to do, and I'm just going on this trail, I'm going to open this. And if this has anything to do with me, I'll read your Bible. I opened it to Acts chapter 17, where Paul and Silas are in prison.
In prison.
I said, okay, here we go. So I began to pray. That's when I started praying for God to make me an instrument of His peace. And the Holy Spirit came over me, and God changed me. Right in that cell. I was preaching to anybody that would listen. The guards, they wouldn't even stop at my window anymore. They kept walking. They didn't want to hear it. Some people did. Some people wanted to hear what God was doing and how I was getting that flame, that fire. One night, so the way that jail works in prison and in the homes, those vents are up in the wall. I woke up to someone throwing up, and I could hear it in the cell beside me. I was like, oh yeah, I know what's going on over there. They're drunk or something. I asked one of the guards. He said that she's coming off heroin. So I started speaking through the vent. Hey, I know what you're going through. I've been there, and I have an answer for you. So I ministered to this woman through the vent. All night we talked about Jesus, and I shared my testimony. The next morning it was time for her to leave. Well, she had fallen asleep. I was awake because I was on a mission. I wrote her a Bible study.
What?
I wrote her a Bible study.
Come on now.
And when it was time for her to leave, she walked to my window to get the Bible study. Guess what? I was her drug dealer.
What? Oh my God.
I was her drug dealer, and that's when she looked at me and I looked at her, I was like, oh, Maria, oh my gosh. And she said, because she had been crying, I had done led this woman to Jesus through the vent.
Yeah.
I led her to salvation. She said, ain't God good?
Wow.
And that is where Ain't God Good ministry came from.
And that is amazing, because let me tell you, that didn't have to be her response. She could have been like upset, like like human emotion. She may have been resentful that it was you. So for her to say, ain't God good, that was amazing.
Oh yeah, like you said, it was a God thing.
Yeah.
It was God's plan. And today she is still doing good. She's married, she has children, she has a church, she has a career.
Now when you say she has a church, she has a church that she's over, or she's in church?
She's just in church.
Okay.
She's just
All
in
right.
church.
Okay.
She's just turned her life around, because a lot of the people that I dealt with, they died. They're not here anymore, sadly.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And so we pray for their families.
We do. It's a heaviness I carry every day, but it gives me motivation to help the people. I go into drug houses and Narcan people, and when I go in there, I'm thinking about the people who who have died. You know, I want to save this person. I can't save everybody. All I can do is administer Narcan and tell them the gospel.
In what area do you want to make the biggest impact?
Oh, women who are incarcerated.
Okay, yeah.
Because I was in and out of jail and prison for years, and a lot of people that came to talk to me, that wasn't their calling, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe they were just coming to serve the church for the week, and I didn't learn a whole lot. So I want to be that person that goes into jails and prisons and teaches these ladies how to get out of that life, how to run to Jesus, how to find him, how to hold on to him once they do find him.
I'm so glad you just said what you said. What she just said was, she talked about a calling to go to prison, okay, and minister to people. When I was a little kid, there was a nursing home around the corner from our house, and I begged my parents to let me go to this nursing home. And I wanted to, now I didn't know what ministering was, but I wanted to visit the people there. And they should have let me, I feel like they should have let me do that. If they, you know, they felt like I was a kid and I wasn't old enough. But something in my heart was saying to go. And so they, you know, they did the best they could. But I feel like if they had gone with me, you know, we could have done what I was supposed to do, you know. But I like what you said. So I know that a lot of times churches do prison ministry, and they will ask all of the ministers to go. And I just want churches to start thinking about having people work in their call as opposed to just sending people.
Yes.
Because there's a place for all of us. You know, you've got the prison, you've got senior ministry, you've got the homeless. I mean, the list goes on and on. Foster kids. You know, just be prayerful about just putting people somewhere. That's all I'm saying.
We all have a place. I do things also with single moms, like school drives for school. I do things at Christmas time. A single mom may not be able to pay for her kids, so I'll make a ministry post. Hey, we've got 10 kids who need adopted. We work with widows. I do a lot of stuff, but my heart is with those women who are locked up.
Yeah. And I'm sure that's probably where you make the biggest impact.
Oh, yeah, yes.
Because you have an anointing to do that.
Minus the ones who call me a snitch, but that's okay.
Well, I was going to ask you
We pray
about
for
that.
them too.
I was going to ask you about that too, but we don't have time. And I do want to ask you, do you think prison needs more reform in order to be more effective for inmates?
Yes, 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 yes. I cannot say yes to that enough. You're throwing a bunch of women in there with nothing to do. Like for me, luckily I went to Henning, and we had at West Tennessee Women's Prison, we had great programs. Not everybody has that. Yes, we need programs in here to help these women. Most of them come from broken homes. They need to learn how to be a mom. They need to learn how to be a normal, law-abiding citizen. We need those classes. A lot of the county jails that house state prisoners, Gibson County Jail, Henderson County, Carroll County, they need to be helping these ladies instead of just making them do their time and throwing them back out on the street. Without change, there is no change.
Right.
They're going to come right back in.
Yeah. So that's something that prisons need to look at. Prison staff, the state of Tennessee.
Yes.
So, how can people follow your ministry? How can they get your book?
So, lots of places. I'm on Facebook under author Christy Dawn Haley. I have a ministry page that's connected to that called Ain't God Good Ministry. You can find me at authorchristyhaley.com. Same thing on TikTok, author Christy Haley. My books will start coming out probably about the end of summer. I'll start getting some stuff out. I'm working on a Bible study program called Warriors in Christ Bible study program that I started writing in prison. And then following that will be Building Bridges with Jesus. And I think I'm going to do some fiction similar to Karen Kingsbury that might have a little bit of spice and kick to it.
Okay then. All right.
Trying to reach the women who are coming like out of, because you're in jail and you're reading. I love Karen Kingsbury. She was the first person that I read like that. She's very godly and everything was good. We need some spice in there for the ladies who are coming out of prison and jail, or going through some stuff even not in prison and jail.
Okay. All right. And you're on TikTok, right?
I am on TikTok, author Christy Dawn Haley.
Okay. And Instagram? Are you on Instagram?
I have an Instagram connected to Facebook, but I haven't figured out how to work Instagram yet.
Okay. All right.
It's there. You can find me on it.
Okay. All right. So Facebook and TikTok are places to go to find her. Ain't God Good, Building Bridges for Jesus, author Christy Dawn Haley. You can follow her those different ways. And what about if people want to donate to what you're doing?
So if they want to donate, we can always take donations. I'm trying to start a Celebrate Recovery ministry at one of the local jails that I go to in Carroll County, and I'm going to need Celebrate Recovery materials for our ladies. We're going to need Bibles. See, Celebrate Recovery is where I found some of my healing.
Okay.
It's kind of like AA or NA, but it's for Christians.
Okay.
So we're going to need some material, and I do have Ain't God Good Ministries at Venmo, but they could just reach out to me on social media, and if they want to help, absolutely, we can take all the help we can get.
Okay. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I've enjoyed talking to you. I know that people have been blessed and their lives have been enriched. Thank you all so much for joining us. Also, always follow us on the SVP TV network on Facebook as well as YouTube. And keep on coming back to the couch. Good night.
Bye.
You were talking about a good time, chill. We all know. Come on now.
Center Stage Gospel Music live from Memphis, Tennessee, featuring gospel artists from around the world. Toe-tapping, hand-clapping, down-home gospel music. Watch on Roku, Fire TV, Apple TV, and your local Comcast. Download the SVP TV app now on your smart television and mobile device. Center Stage Gospel season premieres Sunday, 8 p.m. Central.
Ladies, do you feel feminine during your feminine flow? You know, your monthly cycle, your period? Are you still suffering in silence? The suffering is over. It's time to choose Rain. Rain is an all-natural, premium sanitary napkin with 8 layers of cotton, high-grade polymers, graphene to help cut bacteria by 99.9%. Ladies, let's protect the most precious jewel in the world, you.
Rain Premium Sanitary Napkins do not make any medically backed claims or personal recommendations of any kind. For more information, contact Marilyn McGee.
Hey folks, it's Issa Haddad here. I got some good news and a special invitation for you to come see me here at Sunrise Carterville. Come on down, check out my inventory with new, pre-owned, and certified vehicles to choose from. I can get you financed when no